It's nearly the end of the year and everyone's running around making videos telling you how to set up your journals for the new year. If you've ever spent time watching journal flip-throughs, you'll see that some of these setup pages never get used. And in my case, I had plans to create pages and they never got created, so I have blank pages waiting to be used. I thought it might be useful in that case to go through the journal spreads that I have used in my setup and the ones that I never used, or even the ones that I never finished making. I'm Ruby from The Useful Journal. I share journal reviews and journaling ideas that have made me more productive and have helped me manage my mental health. There's a few pages that I have included in every journal I have owned, and they're always used, and they include the title page and the future log. I used to put the whole year in my future log, but then I started having journals that started at random months through the year, and I've also got a better idea now of how many months my journal should last. And so now I put in the months that the journal will run for and then one or two more, depending on how much space I have on the page. All my journals have a title page. In the past, I had the title page just with the year it was when the journal started, and then if it ended up overlapping into a new year, I would create a page halfway through the journal for the start of that year. Now that I know how many months I'm likely to fit in my journal, I tend to have a title page that goes over the joint year. So for instance, my current bullet journal, the title page says 2023 to 2024. In several journals, I've included a theme index. This is a single page spread that has a box for each month that the journal will cover, and then in that box I include a snapshot of what that theme looked like. In my first journal, I had worked out all the themes I was going to use for the whole year, so I actually created that whole page all at once at the beginning of the year, and that meant that I didn't have to choose my themes throughout the year. Now I tend to leave the boxes blank and I'll come back each month and fill in the box for that month. My last few journals have included a "When did I last" spread. I can't remember who shared this idea, but it immediately appealed to me. The idea of the spread is that you start the journal with a list of important items that have renewal dates or dates due that don't happen very often, and fill in the last time you did each of them. For instance, if you go to the dentist every 6 months, you would enter the date that you last went to the dentist, and that will then let you know when you're next due to go. When did I last is definitely one of my most useful spreads. Monthly memories is pretty straightforward. I use my Sprocket printer to print a photo at the end of each month that remembers a highlight or important moment. I'm not always prompt with filling this spread in, but it's easy enough to look back through your photos at a later date and fill it in then. You could use other pocket printers, or you could use a Polaroid, or you could even draw a picture for the memory. The beginning of your journal is a popular spot to put trackers that will last several months. They could even last a whole year, like the Pixel A Day tracker. I'll start with a few odd trackers. I don't have a reading journal, so at the beginning of each journal, I include a single or a double page spread where I record what I've read. That tracker is pretty simple. I just include a little photo of the cover of the book. I have a star rating, and I write just a few words saying what I thought of the book. For those of you that use social media, you could track your followers, subscribers, or users. For me, I track YouTube, Instagram, and my website. A very common thing to include in your setup pages are goal spreads. I have in the past done spreads that simply list my goals for the year, but the problem with these spreads is that there's no tracking to show what progress you've made. I've also done a Level 10 Life spread, which lists your goals under a set number of categories such as finance, health, relationships, or spirituality, alongside a diagram that at the start of the journal shows where you think you are at the time, that you then revisit at the end of the journal to see if you've progressed from your previous, say, starting level 4 to getting closer to level 10. I've only applied this process once, the Level 10 Life process, and I really enjoyed the review process at the end, but I'm not sure that having that tracker and that page in my journal motivated me to do more. One year, I went through a lengthy process of determining my values, my priorities, and my dreams. The idea was that I would see if my goals were picking up on those 3 things. The process was inspired by a book, The To-Do List Transformation, and I've actually written about this book on my website in a blog under the productivity pages. Once you've identified goals that are aligned to your values and priorities, you do a task dump. You sort those tasks into buckets and then you align your tasks to your overall goals. And don't forget that those goals are also aligned to your values, your priorities, and your dreams. If they don't align, then you have to consider whether they should be abandoned. I got through a lot of the process but didn't quite finish it, so I can't report on whether it was useful or not in totality, but I have gone back to look again at my values and my priorities and my dreams, and those 3 things have been very useful. And it's interesting to see whether they shift depending on what's happening in your life at the time. 2 times I thought a mini habit or a mini goal page would be useful, and both times I didn't even complete preparing the page and never wrote anything in them. I don't know, I think I had read about mini habits somewhere, and yeah, they've never stuck. I've never done anything with them. So that mini habit of creating that page totally failed. I suppose this is on the same vein, unfinished business. I once watched a video, and I cannot remember where I saw it, that recommended setting up a page called Unfinished Business. If you know where this comes from, if you've seen it, please leave a comment, because I ended up with this page in my journal with the heading Unfinished Business. There was 4 boxes, and I don't know what I was supposed to do with it. I didn't write any notes down or anything, and it meant that even while I was working in that same journal, I couldn't remember what the page was for, so it never got filled in. It's probably a good reminder to write some notes occasionally. For a couple of years, I had a Miracle Morning spread, and what that Miracle Morning spread made me realise is that I also needed to organise my evenings, and so I created my own enhanced evening spread as well. And these are schedules that are supposed to make your life more productive. The Miracle Morning is aimed at creating a schedule that allows you time to think and to enter the day in a mindful way, which in turn is supposed to improve your productivity and your headspace. And my enhanced evening was designed to clear my head of all the things that had happened that day and prepare me for a good night's sleep. I did apply these schedules for a while, and I really loved it. And for some reason, I've gotten back into a terrible schedule and I'm not sleeping well. So I would really like to kick off these 2 schedules again. So it is definitely something I'm going to revisit. For the first time in 2023, I did a 23 in 23 spread. If you're not quite sure what that means, say in 2024, you do a 24 in 24 spread. This is a list of things you want to do, see, or achieve in the year, and could be a whole range of things like I've written down, or could be to one theme like 23 recipes you want to try or 23 places you want to visit. Mine is a bit of a mix and I haven't come close to achieving it, but it has motivated me to try and get a few things done on the list. If you follow the bullet journal system, you may want to include a key page. A key page gives you a set of symbols to use to follow the bullet journal system, like a symbol for tasks or events or completed tasks. I have been journaling for a while, and so while I included the key page in my earlier journals, I no longer include it in my journals because I'm pretty comfortable with the symbols I use and I don't need a reminder. Another common setup page is a grid guide, often included in the back of the journal, but I'm seeing more and more now that people are getting a bit creative with them, and popular versions are a pocket in your journal with a card that you can pull out so that you can use it throughout your journal. The grid guide is useful if your journal has dots across and dots down that are different to what you're used to, because it'll change the way you lay out the boxes on your page. In a couple of journals, I've included a meal planning page. It's a double page spread. On the left-hand page, I have removable tabs, like on post-it notes, that have different meal ideas, and I group them according to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then on the second page, I've got the week laid out as a schedule. And I can just pick up the tabs from the left and place them on the right, and it helps me work out what meals I want to plan for. The beauty is that it's all my favourite meals, and so it just makes decision making a little bit easier. I started putting on weight about 5 years ago, and COVID did not help, and I've been trying to lose it since. I've had a lot of false starts, but since August in 2023, I've lost half of the weight that I put on, and I'm well on the way to losing the rest of it. Reflective of these false starts are several weight loss spreads that have either never got started or didn't get finished. These spreads include measurements trackers, weight trackers, and trackers for progress to my weight goal. My weight loss progress trackers are probably some of my favourite spreads. I just wish they showed more progress. Finally, I often include a quote page, especially if I have an odd page to fill in and no other ideas for that year. My quote page is usually humorous and allows me to play around with lettering or other layout ideas. Some people add health trackers to the start of their journal, but I tend to do these monthly because I include quite a lot of information in my health trackers, and it wouldn't be easy to consolidate it down to a single spread to include in the journal setup. Obviously, having looked at my spreads, it's clear that not all your spreads are going to work and not all of them are going to get completed. It can be hard to predict what's going to happen in your year and how things are going to turn out. If you're really unsure about what to include, just include the basics. My earlier journals just had the title page and the future log, and then you can just create pages as you go through your journal. This is kind of how bullet journals are meant to work, and that's why you have an index and you can then refer to the page later on in your journal. As long as you enjoy the process of creating the spreads and you have an idea of how you think you might use them, go for it. It's not going to hurt if they're not used. Have a great 2024. Like my video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you shortly with my setup for January. See ya!